Thank you to Jennifer for putting me onto this woman. Audrey, she's an artistic philatelist. Her background, she claims she's a self-taught artist who walked away from a corporate position to pursue the creative side by merging several talents, hobbies, and interests: sewing, quilting, stamp collecting. And there's a new art form. This is her website, ayartist.com, and it's remnants of communication. What we're seeing here are American stamps with women. And this is from a dress that we'll see in later on. These are the hips of a dress, 3-foot tall dress that she's got manufactured out of US stamps. Here's a little girl's dress. Guess what? Made out from tubes, small tubes, cylinders of used Canadian definitives. Thank you, Jennifer, for the pictures. Here we're looking at the blue in particular. It's the 5-cent Queen Elizabeth Wilding portrait. And we can see the cancellations on them. The purple forming the X's. Here we again see it's a 4-cent Queen Elizabeth Wilding. The green is a 1-cent King George VI from this peace issue. The red is a 4-cent King George VI peace issue. And the orange is also a 4-cent King George VI peace issue. It's a new color issued in 1951. That's a hard stamp to come by. And for her to get it in quantity to do this design, it's quite impressive. The white parts in the dress are the backs of stamps rolled up. And here she is at her booth at the Westfield, New Jersey Stamp Show. We can see some heads here, and we see some quilts and other cards. And thank you to Ed for that photo. She says her inspiration: I look to merge two worlds of art and philately by celebrating postage stamp in a unique fashion. Each stamp on its own is a work of art, and sadly disappearing from our mailbox as electronic communications surpasses regular postal mail. Here's a sculpture head covered in stamps. Here's a small quilt with red heart border. The background is stamped, the backs of stamps, turned around, 13 inches by 14 inches. How does she make them? Following traditional quilt designs and patterns, these decorative wall quilts are created by hand stitching stamps from 1920 through 2005 together to form the complete quilt design. Layered with batting and fabric, so machine sewn to create the quilted look. We can do a quick zoom here on that to see the detail that she's in. All different rows, various US stamps. This is all commemoratives from a particular couple of series, I guess. And we continue here. Her medium, she takes genuine canceled postage stamps and vintage trading stamps and either hand stitches them or cut shapes. Sometimes the designs are printed on fabric. By taking the lead from the stamp or collection of stamps, pursue a theme, create a design, challenge myself by not using the same design more than once in a stamp. Here's another quilt. This is a big one, 30 by 33 inches. There's all blocks of 4. Here we go. Oh, and there's no 2 blocks that are the same. Here's another quilt. She calls it her Soduku, because they're all with postage due stamps. Soduko. No duplication, single row, column, or square. She also makes toys with these stamps. Here's some great toy and some game ideas created by copyright-free postage stamps. So she's very concerned that when she prints the images onto fabric, she can only use copyright-free stamp images or some of her own designs printed on various fabrics. So here she's making dominoes, or she calls them duminos, out of dominoes, numbers 1 through 7, and a teddy bear, of course, featuring the 1927 dark blue Teddy Roosevelt stamp printed on silky fabric and then hand stitched accents 9 inches high. Here's the woman's dress that we saw in the very first slide. 1,200 hand-stitched used postage stamps, 19 prominent women, fully lined, and has a functional 22-inch zipper. Dress measures 35 inches high by 16 inches wide. Very, very impressive. These are all different women. On her website, she does list the names of the 19 women. That's the end. Are there any questions? Amazing artist. I'd also like to put in the word that she's a designer, because I like that she's more than just the artistic. She's also an artistic, a designer, artist, a designer, and a philatelist. So fascinating hobby, what one can do with used postage stamps.